What's up, guys? As we continue this pilot series, I decided to continue with my pre-pilot video, Real Sports. I think it's just an interesting series, coming from the opinions of a teenager like myself. It's very relatable to most people in this class, and just to get the real stories in sports, what's important, what's actually going to make impacts in sports rather than stupid stories about Johnny Manziel and Tim Tebow haven't been relevant at all, since they were in college. So today we're going to switch gears. We talked about the NFL playoffs last week. We're going to go back to the NFL next episode, but today we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about what happened so far this MLB offseason and what these acquisitions and moves mean for teams and for the playoff picture heading into the 2016 season. So we're going to start off here with the National League, and I think it's just important to start off with the team I think that made the biggest bang in the whole offseason, the Chicago Cubs. Adding Jason Hayward, John Lackey, Ben Zobrist, and a very underrated reliever in Adam Warren, and not losing that many valuable pieces. I looked at National League Central. They got three great teams in that division. I think it's the best division in baseball because of those three teams: Chicago, St. Louis, Pittsburgh. Chicago, like I said, just added all those guys. St. Louis added Jed Guycrow, who's a great hitter and very underrated. Lost Hayward and Lackey, which is huge for their team. Cincinnati continues to rebuild as well as Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh pretty much stayed in the same boat. They didn't lose too much, they didn't add too much. Main acquisitions include Neftali Felice, Ryan Vogelsall, and John Meese. But in the order of this division, I'm going Chicago makes the playoffs. St. Louis gets one of the wild card spots. Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, 3, 4, 5 in the division. So I see Chicago winning the division with St. Louis making it as a wild card team. Move on to National League West, and there's been a lot of moves out here. Start off with the Colorado Rockies. Really, signed four vets: Mark Reynolds, Jason Motti, Chad Qualls, Gerardo Parra. Didn't lose too much. They're going to take a step forward, but they're still in the rebuilding stages. Probably going to trade Carlos Gonzalez, their best player. So don't expect them to make too much noise. Same thing with the San Diego Padres. Added some young players, but lost a lot. Pretty much all their key pieces: Justin Upton, Craig Kimbrell, Jed Guycrow, Joaquin Benoit, all gone. Then you move down. Those two teams are out of it. I go Colorado fourth place, San Diego last in that division. But I think the next three teams can all compete for playoff spots. I'm going to go San Francisco with the lead in the division. They're going to make the playoffs. The additions of Span, Cueto, Samardzija not losing anything. They're the top favorites to me. Then I'm going the Dodgers, even with the loss of Zach Greinke moving over to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I still see them, coming in second. I just think Arizona doesn't have the pieces. They have a good rotation. They just don't have that strong lineup. I think Shelby Miller and Greinke moves forward, but it's not going to do it all. So I say San Fran makes the playoffs. Every other team in this division misses. The NL East, I'm going with the Nationals making the playoffs, as well as the New York Mets in second place, winning a wild card spot, with Miami, Atlanta, and Philadelphia all finishing them out. The reason I picked Washington, they added so much. They lost some key pieces, but they added more than they lost, in my opinion. New York pretty much stayed the same. Obviously, Daniel Murphy, the World Series hero, was a big loss, but they're still going to be there with that great rotation. We'll move on to the American League now. So I'm going to repeat my National League winners. San Francisco in the NL West, in the NL Central, Chicago, in the NL East, Washington, with the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals both getting at the wild card spots. Move on to the AL. The AL East, my winner is going to be my favorite team, as you can tell from behind me, the New York Yankees. They added so much and gave up so little this offseason. Justin Wilson, the biggest guy, lost, but you replace him with, I think, the best reliever in the game, and Aroldis Chapman. Boston, I heard they made a big splash with Price and Kimbrel, but that's just not enough. They have too many pieces that are really dead weight. Again, Toronto was a team that won the division last year, but they lost David Price, and they needed to add starting pitching, and they just didn't do that so far this offseason. They had two nice relievers in Storen and Chavez, though. Fourth in the Baltimore, I'm going for with they added Hung Soo Kim to replace Gerardo Parra. But they didn't take too many steps forward, so I'm going with them fourth and Tampa Bay fifth. Moving on to the AL West, I'm going with the Los Angeles Angels winning this division this year, with the Houston Astros, who won the division last year, right behind. I have both teams making the playoffs. Seattle's going to be 3, the Rangers 4, and Oakland 5. The biggest acquisition, I think, the Angels with the Aldridge Simmons. He really rejuvenated his career out there in LA. And finally, the AL Central. I got the defending champs aren't even going to win the division this year, in my opinion. Detroit's going to win the division, with KC finishing in second, but winning a wild card spot. Then the Chicago White Sox, Minnesota Twins, Cleveland Indians. The Detroit Tigers. After losing David Price last season, they added so many weapons, and they're going to be deadly. So just to repeat my playoff seedings, I got in the AL West. I got Los Angeles Angels. I got the New York Yankees. I got the Detroit Tigers. I got the Houston Astros, and I have the Kansas City Royals all making the playoffs in the NL. St. Louis Cardinals, um, Chicago Cubs, San Francisco Giants, Washington Nationals, New York Mets, and my early prediction to win the World Series is the Chicago Cubs with all the additions they made. This is Real Sports with Anthony Meditti. I'll see you next episode.